All right, Devin, welcome to the show, man. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's great.
Yeah, it's I've obviously followed you for a long time and all the success that you've had. So I was excited when we connected to get you on prior to show week. So I'm sure you got a
Yeah,
big
I feel like I got a prime
big plans
slot,
for
so
next
hopefully
week.
I'll deliver.
Of course. So I want to start in a different place than we normally do, right? Everybody starts with backstories, and we can kind of get to that. But I want to start with where you are right now,
Sure.
being host of the Golf Fix, on the Golf Channel is a big deal. I mean, that's a big
Thank you.
responsibility. Yeah, no, congratulations. Talk to me about how that happened, how it came about, like what was the process, and I've got a
Yeah.
lot of questions about your content as well that we can have fun with.
Yeah, sure. Oh man. Um, yeah, so it was interesting. It was kind of one of those serendipitous things. And I'm sure you've had a lot of that in your life too. But um, so you probably know this, but I'd worked for Jim McLean kind of out of the
Right.
gates. Like many top coaches throughout the country. Amazing mentor, obviously. And he was approached by a guy named Justin Tupper to start filming Revolution Golf videos. Revolution Golf, is you
I
probably remember,
remember
was kind
that.
of like the first.
Yeah,
I don't want to say pre-YouTube because it wasn't, but it was just kind of the
pretty
first kind of
close.
marketing slash, sign up for membership, that type of thing. And he had come out, Jim had come out and filmed some stuff with Tupper, and I think Justin Pointer and Joey Wurtenberg you probably know as well. I
Yep,
was
I
I
do.
was teaching with them. They were packed. I was a newer teacher at the time. It was like 2010. Um, and they're like, hey, does anybody want to do some swing tip videos? And I was just gonna do a couple, and we ended up doing like and I really liked it. It was really cool. Obviously it was all just for practice and fun, etc. And what really kind of got me going with it was that it was amazing to me when they posted the video how big their reach was. And I mean, it sounds such common sense now. I mean, you post something, you get guys from Australia or Hong Kong or
Right.
wherever that reach is amazing. I'll get questions from guys from all over. So it really saw like a lot of value in that. And so going forward, Justin was like, "Man, you're my guy. I love having you on. Obviously, like the main guy, but like anytime you want to do it, come on up." And we did a couple of shoots myself and Jim at Liberty National when he was up there. And long story short, Justin eventually sold it to the Golf Channel. So there's kind of like that side of it, and then on the other side of it, I'd always been a AMF or proponent group, GBN, it kind of transitioned through the years.
Yeah.
Member, and then Lauren took a period of time, Lauren Anderson, to go to the Golf Channel as kind of their, I think it was like title was director of instruction or something for the Golf Channel. They had started those Golf Channel academies that a lot of us had, kind of participated in or thought about or whatever. And I had recently moved to San Diego, just leaving gym for the first time. I really liked the idea of having kind of that umbrella over me, the help from everybody. So I was the San Diego site in Carlsbad. And with that, you got one visit per year to be on the morning drive. So after about 2 months of being on that, they're like, hey, why don't you come out to Florida, be on the morning drive? I was super nervous. Like, holy shit, I've been watching the Golf Channel. Not sure
Right.
if I can swear on this or not, but that's how I felt. And it's great. It was a good experience. Obviously, really nervous, but I got to meet Kevin Schultz when I was out there. He was director of the Morning Drive forever, and now executive producer at Golf Pass. And it kind of was this kind of three-pronged thing where like Lauren helped, and then Kevin Schultz helped, and then when Justin sold to the Golf Channel, it all kind of came together. And I just started doing small things for them, like even if I was going to the show, I was like, hey, I'm going to be in Orlando. Can I stop in and film some content? And it just worked out where they would reach out for some stuff. It was all obviously just kind of a relation, nothing official. And then come COVID, they're like, hey, there's this new thing called Golf Pass coming out. We were talking to all these other coaches about
Yeah.
doing shows, but you're on the list too. Don't worry, like we got you. Why don't you give us some ideas of what you think would be a good show? And at the time, it was like when everyone was inside, and so I was doing all these like fault and fix indoor type, drills like
As
basketball
we all were.
on the
Yeah.
wall, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was seeing some pretty good traction. I was like, I think obviously a more polished version of that, where maybe each episode is like a fault, and the whole episode is kind of like, okay, slicing is your fault. This is what we'll do. And they're like, well, that sounds perfect because we sell in the franchise the Golf Fix. Michael left a little bit ago, a couple years or something. We haven't really done anything with it. We want to bring you back as the Golf Fix guy. So that was obviously a huge help for me because I piggybacked off of all the work that Breed did. I think he did 9 seasons and like, I want to
Right.
say 40 episodes a year after also
Crazy.
being like a director of golf at like I can't remember, it was Sunningdale, somewhere like great. Like, and he would just like the stories out here, he'd like fly in on Sunday, walk the halls of Walmart, pick out a floaty or two, get some wit for somebody in their backswing or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
crush the show and then fly home like Monday night and then like go back to like the T on Tuesday or something. It sounded pretty wild. So he did a great job. Obviously, it was the number one show for a long time. It was different though. It was something they had never really seen. He was obviously very fast paced. I heard some stories even originally when he sent them the tape, but they're like, "Who is this guy? What is this?" And then 9 years later, he was like the most watched guy. So that's kind of how it started, and I've loved it. They give me such a great opportunity, such a great platform. It's really fun to be creative. I mean, I'm sure not all of it, but some of it I kind of just post snippets of online, and we try to be very visual and kind of infotainment. Try to make it as entertaining but also informative as you can. Keep people's attention. Create visuals for the average golfer that's just watching that may be something they can relate to. But also still trying to really make sure like everything's right. Like I really want to a lot of times if I have a show that's on, call it, let's say it's Ground Force, I'll go have dinner with Dr. Scott Lynn and be like, I just want to make sure like this is what I'm going to talk about. Like I don't want to,
yeah, you'll get roasted if you don't.
Yeah, I'm not trying to get roasted. I'm sure there's things already. I mean, I've done over 100 episodes, so there's probably a few things I've said that maybe I go back and change. But overall, like it's been an awesome experience. And yeah, I mean, it's just fun to keep getting creative. And there's a little bit of light. I might move a little bit. That's all right. I don't know if that helped at all either, but I'm like a white person. There we go. But anyway,
it used to be indoors, right? When Michael did it, and now you look like you do most of your stuff outside. Are you filming in California, or do you have to fly to Orlando to do it?
Good question. We film everything generally in Orlando. So we'll do like certain series and stuff maybe in California, but we film everything in Orlando. Was at Lake Nona, sometimes still Lake Nona, but generally that just Orlando vicinity. That's where their whole team is. And I apologize, just getting like blasted by the sun here. I should have picked a better spot. But anyway, it's interesting, right? Like it's almost like you have, I don't want to say a second life, but you'll go out there for a week or two and you're in a hotel and you film all day, every day. And that's all you really can and want to focus on. And then you go back and do it each day. Cause it's, obviously very important that you have a good day, but it's awesome. It's been a super cool experience. And hopefully there's a lot more years left, but they just got, acquired by Versant. So I know there's some changes and whatnot. Yeah. They, I think, a Comcast spinoff, essentially. I don't know the details, so don't quote me on this exactly, but they separated from NBC Universal, and so now it's like a separately publicly traded company. I think other, Golf Channel and USA and E and a few other networks, I think, went with them.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm good friends with Martin Hall. He's a big mentor of mine, and when I had him on the show, or I think last time I saw him, I was like, "How do you ever run out of ideas?" Right? It's like it seems like we've talked about everything. Like, is there a process that you go through? Is there some people, like you said, reaching out to maybe other coaches that kind of give you ideas of like what you're going to do for the next tip?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's there's definitely a process. I have to have clubs near me. I gotta have like coffee, and I sit down for a while. And through the years, it's kind of evolved. I had one producer for the first 3 years, and I had a different producer, and both were great, and they kind of do it a little bit differently. But essentially, there's like an outline of each segment. Like these are the topics. That's kind of what we created at the beginning. Like the breakdown and practice what I preach, and there's all sorts of different segments in a sense. So within those segments, you're like, okay, if this show topic is this, these are the different things I want to do. You just you start to think of some drills that you would typically do, and then I just try to, go off of those. Okay, if I was to name my very first drill that comes to mind, what are 10 other that are similar? And then if I've even done all of those, what are some ways to convey it visually that might be different? There's a million ways to talk about shifting forward. I mean, you could give a million analogies, and I think that the idea is just to try to make it as visually and optically appealing as possible, while also obviously giving the person the knowledge of how to do it and why you do it and when you do it and all that type of stuff.
I was just kind of curious about just the idea. How do you come up with the ideas? If there was, you had other people that you reach out to, or is it just like, I remember when I used to do a bunch of YouTube tips back in the day, it would be like, all right, something that I start seeing on the lesson tee, and then I'd be like, let's go film it. You know what I mean? Like it just comes to mind. I didn't know if you had sort of a process.
Well, I definitely think, whether I will claim it or not, I do think what I've seen recently does influence subconsciously what maybe the direction I go on certain things.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I definitely reach out to people on certain topics. Just maybe it's topic on speed or ground force or certain things that are just a little bit more specific.
Mhm.
I think we get a lot of inspiration too. I try to promote a lot of coaches on it as well by we have what's called the social fix. So I bring up a coach,
Mm.
some drill I've seen that I really, really like. We'll save it, we'll put them up there, and then I'll just basically do my spin on it, which will be like a similar but different version, or hey, you can use it for this, but the opposite drill would be good for if you hook it, do it this way, type thing. So yeah, I mean, I think it's all the above. But yeah, I mean, a lot of times I'm just like sitting in my house trying to like see different things and feel like, what would this also be like, and what's a good way to explain this, and then I test it a couple times if I have any items in the house or any visuals, and sometimes like I'm stretching it too much, and sometimes like okay, this could work. So
Yeah. So yeah, the graphics are super cool. Like the
thank you. Yeah,
productions,
they do a good job.
production is amazing. I love the one I'm a wine guy, so the wine
Yeah,
barrel one you did, I
yeah, that just
thought
came out. Yeah, I appreciate it.
it's so cool. Yeah, it's really really well done.
Yeah, I would say that was one of the things that I was very pleasantly shocked by when we just started doing this was just how professional the shoots were. How many, 6 to 8 cameras, 14 to 20 people. Definitely when you first year or two, it's pretty, it still is to this day, but you get kind of nervous at the beginning. And
Sure. Yeah.
if you mess up, everyone else shut down the cameras, restart it. So it definitely puts the pressure on, but it also kind of makes you feel really alive, which is very cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say what kind of skills have you learned? I mean, it's pretty apparent, obviously, of being in front of the camera. I think I asked Breed this when he was on the show. It's like, you know, what have you learned from, being in the limelight and then having to be, obviously your communication has to be very clear. And is there anything that comes to mind? You'd be like, oh wow, that surprised me a little bit, or I've gotten a lot better at this, or how do you work on those things to make it polished?
Yeah, I think it's a never-ending cycle. I think you have in this on this podcast, it's probably a good analogy. Is equate it to the golf game where it's like or your golf swing. It's like there's certain things that on and off you'll probably always be working on your whole life, and you just got to kind of keep an eye on them. For me, sometimes I speak a little fast. I use my hands sometimes a little bit too much, so I'll watch like past shows, and sometimes I'm like, all right, I did pretty well. That came across like this, and sometimes I'm like, Jesus, like what are you doing? So watching yourself, although it's tough, it's important. I think a lot of it too is just understanding like what cameras to look at what time, what's going to work, when you mess up, when they can cover it, and when they can't. So like not stopping all the time always, and just kind of like being able to pick up and know that like they're going to lay over a slow mo or lay over something, so it's not a big deal. So that the timing can still work. And same thing with shots. Like sometimes at first, if you hit a shot that's like a little off the toe, you want to just hit another one, but it's like you don't have to necessarily, unless it's in slow mo and they see deflection and all that. Like you can just play it off because it was a good shot. And I would just say, and some might argue against, I would say for the most part, the more energy, the better. I mean, I think you might feel like you're like really out there and really extravagant, but then you watch it on TV and it's really not what you might appear. And it's definitely better, than being boring. McLean used to always say, number one rule is don't be boring. So that was our speech as far as presenting at McLean.
I was going to say that's such a huge training ground, with the Monday meetings. I was very fortunate to speak at his Monday meeting last year, where he had some guest speakers in, which was kind of a awesome moment for me. I didn't work for Jim, but I still consider him a big mentor of mine. But yeah,
that's awesome.
it's just getting up in front of a group and getting nervous, and that's what I was saying. Did you had any training besides that, like anything that you
I would
did
say McLean.
offside? Yeah, that was
Yeah,
it, huh?
not really offside, but I think with him, he was just so. I wanted to excel so well for him, working for him, and he would just have all these different presentations and things that you had to know. And he would always say, he's like, if you can say it in front of us, I know you can say it in front of the student. He's like, we know what you're supposed to say. They don't know what you're supposed to say. So, so I would always just practice all day, every day. I remember when I first started from PJ West, which is in the desert. I had a girlfriend in San Diego at the time. And I would, at the time it was 20 fundamentals, and I would just like chug like a 3 shot coffee and like drive and just repeat them over and over and over again, and memorize them. And that was one of the reasons why I got to become like his personal assistant, moved to Doral, was from a presentation. Just watching his DVDs when there were DVDs back then, and the building block approach and all that stuff. So honestly, now that you say it, a lot of it I would attribute to, I wouldn't say directly him in the sense of like he sat down and coached me through it, but just the need to work for him to be able to be a good presenter was like kind of a huge part of it. And how you got promoted was knowing your stuff.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
want to really
I
understand
grew up
that.
in the golf school setting as well, so that was a big. We're all terrible at it when we first start. We're young, and so I knew I had to get better if I was going to be, a top coach. And like I went to Toastmasters. I did a bunch of like
That's a
public
great.
speaking
That's a great
stuff
one.
that like made me super uncomfortable, and I hated it. But like, and you have to practice, right? So like you just, But we did get a lot of reps, obviously.
I
In front of
remember now
Pete.
that you bring that up. I was at one of your speeches at the proponent group at I think I want to say it was in Orlando for a
Oh,
PGA
when I
show.
was with
You're on like
Jim
the you're on like
and
the far right
Ledbetter.
side, and you were talking
Yeah.
about Toastmasters, and basically you said the same thing. Like, I was at X level, and like I just did this. I felt terrible while doing it, and I got better and better and better. He's like, and you're like, now I feel pretty. Obviously, you have a podcast with 200 episodes. You're doing just fine.
Yeah.
But that's, I think, so great for people to hear because a lot of times, myself included, will shy away from things that we're maybe not necessarily comfortable or perfect at yet. And it just shows you, like, if you just put in the time, like, a lot of things can change.
Did you have anybody like in the media business that has helped you or like that you kind of look up to and bounce ideas off of, like at the Golf Channel?
I mean, I think I definitely pay close attention to whether it's news anchors, whether it's like reporters. I watch Breed a lot, to be honest.
Yeah.
Kind of watch everybody, I guess. Comedians, I think, are really helpful because they're really good with their pauses and when to like, and the
Love
tone
that.
change, I think, is really important.
Yeah.
I still could get a lot better at that, but I think that's massive. It's easy. It's not necessarily even just how exciting you sound. It's like having them wait for it and changing the inflection of your voice and then making a point of something. So yeah, I think all of those combined really have helped a lot.
Yeah. I think just doing a bunch of videos, like you said, kind of looking back at it, I remember in the early YouTube days when I had my YouTube show, I'd go back and like, man, that was that was just awful. It's like, how do I get better at it? Like you said, you start paying attention to other people that are way better, and you just kind of figure it out.
Yeah, for sure. And I
All
think
right.
go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. Sorry. No, I was
I
gonna
was just
say,
gonna say to cap it off.
yeah,
One thing that it sounds so simple, but I think that producers have been really great at is just telling me, hey, just once you're going, like the camera is your student, and so I think we've all spit gold out to certain students at times. You're like, God, that sounded amazing,
yeah.
or
You wish
someone
you had a
recording
camera.
that. Yeah, exactly. And so I think I've kind of taken that as well and stride of just like I'm just teaching somebody right now for the most part. I think the hardest parts are when it's like some scripted stuff and you have to have a certain type of tone or it's supposed to be funny and you're kind of acting. I have a lot of respect for actors because when I have to have a tiny bit of
Oh,
acting involved, I'm not very good at it.
yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
So we have to talk about your breakdancing skills.
Wow, you really did some digging. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, man. I'm always researching, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny to say that, but back, in middle school, high school days, I was a wannabe breakdancer, and I saw that video, and I'm like, that was pretty good, dude. I got to give you props. I mean,
I love that.
so how long did that take to like get to where you
Yeah.
felt like it wasn't completely terrible?
It was a similar time to your life too. Yeah, I think I want to say it was like 7th and 8th grade of middle
Yeah.
school. It's one of those ages you're kind of exploring everything. I played sports, but I got into a certain group that liked to b-boys and stuff. And yeah, for like a year and a half, I was like super into it. And I think right when I got to high school, it kind of just fizzled out for whatever. I
Yeah.
mean, probably for a good reason, but started to golf more. But yeah, it's kind of like riding a bike. I mean, I'm not as healthy or mobile as I was back then, so certain things don't look as good. But the six step and the windmill and the flare and all that type of stuff, it's still in there.
Oh, that was impressive. Yeah, that was a
Thanks.
lot,
Yeah,
lot of floor work there.
a little party trick now, weddings and stuff. So
Oh man, yeah, I could tell for sure. All right, so let's talk about your sort of your day job now, right? So you own an indoor. I'm looking at it right now. It's fantastic. Studio
thanks.
Golf Club. Talk about like how that evolved because you were at a club prior to that, right? Just like most of us working at a country club. So just talk a little bit about the evolution and how the idea came up. And I heard you on another podcast as I was doing my research, talking about the business side of it, right? Like how the things that you've learned from just construction and
Yeah.
some of that side. It'd be cool to share because I mean, these are popping up all over the place, right? Since COVID, it's become very popular. Like,
Mhm.
go in depth with like how that idea evolved and like how it's come to fruition. And you've done a fantastic job with it. I've seen the layout. It's really cool.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah, so how it happened, I was working at Rolling Hills Country Club, which is down in Palos Verdes in LA. Um, there was a local indoor golf and fitness facility that our trainer at Rolling Hills also was like part owner of, and the pro there decided he wanted to leave and he wanted to sell all his stuff. I was still at Rolling Hills, and I was like, I'm not really going to go from here to there, but he was like, hey, are you interested in buying this? I was like, oh, I'll buy it maybe as an investment. It wasn't like a lot of money or anything. He was trying to get out of the business, so it was kind of a good deal for me. Once I did that, a couple of members had found out, and one of the members, who's my business partner now, was like, hey, I've gone to XYZ studio before, this indoor training place before. He's like, they're decent. I think there's a huge upside to them, but he's like, I don't think anyone's quite done them, in his opinion, right yet. And he's like, I'd love it, to do something with you. I think with your background and my help, and he's in finance and he's done very well for himself. So he's like, I think I'm willing to commit X to do this and get this started, and we'll do 2, 3, or 4, and then if that goes well, then we'll kind of have to see what happens after that. And that was kind of the game plan. So he was a member of Rolling Hills as well, and once we kind of had that going, I ended up leaving Rolling Hills and just going kind of 100% into this. And yeah, I mean, it's man, I didn't realize how much I didn't know. There's just so much,
I can't
so
imagine.
much
Yeah.
stuff out there, right? I mean, everything from, it's so interesting, just like the whole process. And we have somewhat of in a sense, like studio golf blueprint from like, all right, you're starting to even just like scope a site. Like, what are the things that you need to have, from parking, from demographic to density to ceiling height to square footage per bay, per demographic, all the different things.
Yeah.
How you work with an architect, timelines for that, parking studies, traffic studies with the city, permits, CUPs, like all these things that I had no idea about.
And got some action going on back there.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
It's a lively place. But yeah,
Good.
so I mean, I think there's still a ton to learn. I'm really glad I did it. I mean, I think I was like a lot of us have been, in a really good place at a club, and I was teaching, 30 to 50 hours a week type deal. And I just kind of felt like, I feel like there's more that I could potentially try, and maybe it won't work out, but at least I want to feel like I've tried to do something. And so I definitely got what I asked for sure. It's more than I thought it would be. There's definitely nights where I wake up in the middle of the night super stressed out, but at the end of the day, it's super gratifying. Just, like when we have a would equate it to kind of like a long-term development junior that ends up, playing on tour or going to a certain school or whatever. It just feels like you've kind of developed something, which I think is always fun for coaches. And so, yeah, we have 4 locations open. We have 3 more that are opening this year.
Wow.
It's been very cool. Yeah, I mean, we really have found, and really part of the big reason why, back to your question, that I wanted to do this was, I just found, being at that club, that people could get really good in an hour lesson, whether it's with me or anyone else, especially with technology and feedback. And, oh, this path and face is this, do this drill. Oh, look, my path and face is this. Oh, you're drawing it, you were doing this. And then I would see them for like 2 weeks after on the other side of the range. It's like a 2-sided range with academy, etc.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, they're putting the time. All right. Like, maybe he'll come back and he'll get it this time. And it would be the same path and face as they walked in the first time. And this would happen for like sometimes years, And I know, like, at clubs, you'll play a lot and it makes it a little harder. Like, if you play 5 days a week, it's a little harder sometimes to, make changes and stuff. But I was like, man, it's not always even just the time. I used to always think is people just don't practice enough. That's why maybe certain changes are harder. And really what I found was just, it was awareness when you're on your own, and
Yeah.
if you think about it, like, I mean, even like Scotty Scheffler's got Randy behind him. I mean, I think he's a pretty acute feel. He's pretty aware of what's going on, but he still has a coach there. Imagine the everyday guy, right? Especially after a bigger change. So I just wanted to give an opportunity to these people to do it like in a high-end atmosphere where they feel like they can, see what their body's doing, see what the ball flight and club are doing, and work on their body if they need to, so they're not trying to do stuff they can't do, or understand starting line, read, and speed with putt view, and just kind of give them a way to understand how to get better. And I think golf is just so much more fun when you get better. Like, it sucks when you're not getting better. So the whole, like, I play golf for fun. I mean, yeah, I guess, but I've never really had a lot of fun unless I
suck.
Yeah, it's not. It's like terrible, So at least and giving people that clarity, or almost that that hope, that, like, Martin Hall used to always say that everybody needs hope. And I love that quote from him, because golf will beat you up no matter who you are, right? And you just need that. And I think having a little more clarity and more thinking of things like a little bit more logically and less emotionally, which when you hit a bad shot, it's very emotional. Like, and we both know someone can make a great swing, relatively great swing, and maybe they hit it like low toe, feels terrible, ball speed sucks, and they're like, ugh, it's off. But if you have some other things to show them, like, hey, man, actually, like, yeah, the contact wasn't good. I get that. But, like, maybe your low point was actually way better than it was. You shifted better. Maybe XYZ was better. And there was one thing that was off that made you hit it on the toe. And then they're like, oh, okay, it wasn't actually as bad as I thought. So anyway, I really just wanted to kind of have that be accessible to as many people as possible. And then that's kind of what we're trying to do.
So it's subscription based, like you buy a membership and you have access to all the stuff, right? You got TrackMan. Like, what technology are you working with? It
Yeah.
sounds like you can get more. Obviously, what you're saying is when you're in town, when you're not on on the golf channel, or you have coaches that work for you, they can get more touches if they're there to kind of check on the students when they're practicing and they're getting the feedback loop is shorter. Is that fair?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, whether it's technology or also having specialists around you, we want to make sure that you have access to as many of the same things that the best players have. So we have TrackMan as our radar. We have Sportsbox AI as our 3D and 2D video. Very helpful, obviously, for people to be able to use it without a coach when there aren't sensors. I get there's a lot of positives to being have sensors, but
Sure.
from a usability standpoint, it's very helpful. And then, having TBI certified trainer, we have 2 or 3 coaches usually per location, club fitter. So even if everything's good, you can run over, grab a couple shafts, of heads. I mean, a lot of clubs have some of the stuff, but not necessarily for the general public or for everybody. So it's membership based, and they have unlimited access to all of those things. Our newer facilities have recovery areas, so saunas, cold plunges, red light therapy, shower, towel service, all that type of stuff. So great for like if you're on your way to work or you're coming back or you're out of work, you just want a sauna and go home. We're trying to give people that full tour experience, but also at like what I would consider a relatively, good value. I mean, I'm not saying it's inexpensive, but like our one in LA is $350 a month, and you can come as much as you want. So I mean, if you came every day, it'd be like $10 a day, basically. Pretty good deal.
Yeah, it's obviously cheaper than some of the top country clubs, right? All you're missing is a golf course.
Right, and I think too, it's nothing will ever replace playing really good golf courses outside, no doubt about it. But I think sometimes, especially guys that are maybe in their like 30 to 50s that have kids, it's like, you probably heard all the time, like I took 10 years off golf because I had kids. Like I don't think that should have to happen if you have a way that's like, hey, I'm not going to be gone 5 hours. I'm going to be gone an hour and 15, and I'm going to work out, and I'm going to hit balls for 30 minutes or putt. Like if you can make it accessible and easy to do, and just a place you want to go, I think it makes it a lot easier for them to get those in between reps between like, okay, I played 2 months ago and now I'm playing again. I haven't touched the club, which I think it's tough.
Is it open like 24/7 or or do you have hours?
Good question. Yeah, I get that a lot.
Because I've heard some that actually are open.
They are.
You got the key card and
you
don't really have to have anybody there, but I think that'd be a little liability problem, maybe.
I think there's pros and cons. Yeah. I think the more tech you have,
TrackMan's
harder
broken.
to do it. Not only for some of that, I think that we're open 6:30 to 9:30. I mean, if you need to come at like 2 a.m., maybe we're just not the right fit for you. Like that's, I'm okay with that.
I got it.
But no, I mean, I think it is cool to have that feeling like, hey, I can go whenever I want. But tech is tough. I mean, we use some of the best manufacturers and its bays go down, and I can't imagine having that with no staff here. Like that would be just, I can just imagine people asking for refunds or what. I don't know. I don't want to deal with that. So right now it's 6:30 to 9:30, and we're good.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of value to that. I had one at my previous job. We did a range renovation one summer, and I taught into a net for like 6 months.
Yeah.
Right. And I was surprised, I had TrackMan so we could still see, the data and some ball flight, but how quickly I could get people to change when they weren't so focused on actual ball flights, like the Jim McClain's elimination theory, right?
Good
take away the ball, take away the club, take away the arms, take away the body.
Take away the head.
Yeah, exactly. So have you found like some of that to be true? I guess obviously you got a simulator, so it's semi-realistic, but have you had to adjust at all to your coaching more indoors than outdoors?
I think so. I mean, I think it has pros and cons. I mean, I think once they've kind of made the change pretty well, it's nice to be able to get them in a situation where they're on grass or where they're on the golf course or whatever. But I think the average person, once the timeline from learning to doing that is generally shorter than we all know it should be. And this kind of forces them to, kind of have a different result oriented is great, but it doesn't mean the result of the shot always. It could be the result of what your body did. It could be the result of what the club path or face was. It could be the result of a lot of things, right? So I think that having metrics or something that like, hey, the goal is this, and then if it happens to be a good shot, that's great too, leads to more good shots. I mean, it's not anything new, but I think it makes it easier for the person that's actually doing it to understand that. Sports boxing makes it easy. It's red, yellow, or green. So if someone's, turning 47 degrees on their backswing with their shoulders and you get them a little bit more, like it might change colors and they're pretty happy. So yeah, I think it's changed in that sense. I would say I miss like a lot of short game stuff off different types of grass and stuff. But at the same time, I do think that like you can look a little bit more at technique. I mean, not that we didn't film short game before, but I think there was less filming on around the greens with different shots than maybe there was with the swing. And even like, which is kind of ironic, there's a lot of sides to it or whatever, but like what Sean's looking at with pitching and Joe and that wasn't really measured that much even like 5 years ago, which is kind of weird if you think about it. I mean, I took my TrackMan out and hit shots and stuff, but I never really dove into it like they are now. And so I think it allows us to kind of look at some stuff like that. That's kind of cool. That maybe you wouldn't normally if you're just, hey, let's throw some balls around the green, hit some pitches and chips,
I agree. Yeah, I do a ton of short games. Me and Joe are very close and have a lot of similar views. But I start, and Derek Dominski, I've talked to him a ton, and I start with a very high friction environment, which is like off a mat in my building.
Okay.
So I have video, have the TrackMan or the quad or whatever, so you can kind of generate some feels, and then I take them on the grass.
I love that.
So you can still get a lot of work done on a mat, and you get the odd person who's like, well, this isn't realistic. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like if you hit ball first and do it correctly, you can hit off the cart path.
Yeah, if the technique's good, it doesn't really,
exactly. So you got to sell it on them a little bit, but I haven't had anybody complain because they're like seeing results and they can flight it and,
and then when you're out there
all those cool
mentioning
shots.
something about the technique, you've already mentioned it to the board, which I think is a great strategy.
Yeah. And they can get feedback, with the video and obviously the numbers. The math doesn't lie, as me and Jeff say.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. This is what's happening.
Yeah, that's cool. And I see you have a gym. Like the gym looks amazing. You have trainers and all that. Obviously, you're into fitness. Did it make you get in better shape when you started getting on camera? Because you don't get those guns.
You think about stuff more for sure.
I was gonna say you don't get those guns by sitting on the couch, my man. You're doing the work. How do you balance your fitness with all your travel and all that? I want to get into some daily habits that kind of.
Yeah, sure. For sure, traveling makes it really hard, no doubt. And more so from the nutrition side, I think. But yeah, I think too for me, like it's just mentally it helps so much that like kind of almost say like if I don't do this, I won't be as functional at work. I'll be either too stressed out or whatever. It's such a good stress reliever. And I think too, like just like with golf and with business as well, like it's up and down. And so like I think exercise and working out for the most part, you kind of get in what you put out, which isn't always the case in golf or in business. Like you put a lot of effort and time in and like get shitty results, unfortunately. And I do like that aspect of it. So it's somewhat of a consistent, like if I put in the time, I feel like I'm gonna be pretty happy. If I don't deserve it, So I do like that aspect of it a lot. It's kind of like a continuous positive reinforcement,
So give me a typical day and week for you, like as far as what do you have to do to make it a great day for you? Like when you wake up, we do a lot of, we talk a lot about personal growth and daily habits on this show. And I'm always curious because again, you're super fit and I'm jealous. Give me what makes a great day and a great week for you.
Yeah, I think it's evolved. So like when I first started working with McLean, I always would have I think it was like 4 things, and I was always trying to do at least 3 things. So one was always obviously teaching lessons. One was working on my own game, and the other one I think was working out. So if I did 3 out of those 4 hours, it was a successful day. But I couldn't do 2, couldn't do 1. And then the other one was Not that I didn't have days where I did one or two, but that was kind of the idea. And he was really big, obviously, on studying. Now I'm still honestly trying to figure it out. Like, it's just, there's so many opportunities for calls and this and that. And like yesterday I, taught in the morning and I drove to Newport Beach and opened a bank account. And then I came back here and, he had some staff stuff, and it's what I like is that every day is different, but does make it hard a little bit. So I found like time blocking helps me a lot, just like several days ahead of time. I'm sure you have to do that too, especially like with your show, filled up and lessons and all that type of stuff. But is filling in the time that isn't time yet, and then trying to allocate appropriately. But I would say for me, a lot of it is just trying to be process oriented and just trying to do the things that I can control. And you can't always get everything done, and just being okay with that. And just, I think for me, if I feel like I did the best I could, then, and I can always re-strategize maybe to be better at time efficiencies or whatever. But I think for me, when it gets bad, it's when I know like I should have done this, or I could have done this and I chose to do this, and then you kind of feel a little shame. But I think it's just trying to like, hey, I'm okay if I work these many hours and I focus, I'm okay with whatever I get done, and if there's still stuff left, then still stuff left.
So tell me about your workouts, man. Like, give me you're just jumping all around it. I want to know how I can get those arms right there.
Let's dive into it. So during COVID, I had a buddy. He was like a bodybuilder, basically. And I was always, there's the three body
there
types.
We go. So I knew there was something.
Mesomorph, endomorph. There's probably more than that in reality, but those are like the three main ones. Essentially, it's someone who like can't really gain weight, which has always been my whole life, like super skinny. I was like chugging protein and like ice cream when I was like, growing up. Like, my mom was like, have some more ice cream. But it wasn't good because it kind of, I was like 120 pounds when I was in high school until I got to be like a senior. But anyway, and then I kind of like was still kind of skinnier. And then, I think good and bad, I think a lot of people's metabolism slows down a little bit as they get older. And in my case, it kind of just got me to catch up to
normal people
where I probably needed to be. Exactly. And, also just learning like how many calories it actually takes to gain muscle. I think I was always scared that like, you don't eat too many because then you don't get fat. And then and everyone's body type's a little bit different. But what I kind of did for a while, and I'm almost kind of working slightly away from it now, doing a lot more functional stuff. But it's just really trying to understand like hypertrophy zones of different muscle groups, essentially like, okay, 8 to 12 reps for the most part, maybe a little higher or lower depending on the muscle group, and doing certain splits where they had enough rest, and the rest is big. And I think the sleeping stuff, we were sponsored the first year on the show by Whoop, and so like I've been wearing one ever since, and that is, there we go. It's like the first thing I look at every morning, and it's just so, I didn't realize how important the sleep nutrition part was to the other part. And so that's been monumentally helpful. And then I think just for most people, it's just doing the same. You're always trying to obviously push yourself, not quite to failure, but also doing it in different ways so that you I don't say trick your body, it sounds kind of, but so you're not getting used to things, right? So you can get work your lats, working a different way. I like working out with other people because I'll always do stuff that I like. They'll have something that I haven't done before, and I feel like I get a lot more benefit out of it.
Do you work out at your facility there, or do you have another place? You try
both.
To get away?
Yeah. I work.
It's nice to probably have that convenience, but you probably need to get away from students and whatnot.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I think it's cool to have like a culture for sure. But I live now. It's kind of a long story, but I used to live down the street from the studio while we were building it, and then my wife got a job, and we moved 30 minutes away. And then when this opened, and then she got a new job right next to it again. So we live 30 minutes away, but we both work right here. But anyway, so we have a gym, long story short, up there that we go to. Like, we went this morning before work, which is cool. That also helps a lot. My wife's very into fitness.
Nice.
So it's like a cool thing that we can do together. And so even if like I work late and whatever, like at least we got to spend the morning together at the gym or whatever.
Yeah.
So I mean,
sleep obviously is big. You kind of like start picking up these traits from successful people, and obviously where exercise is huge. Any mindfulness training or breathing techniques or anything like that you've dabbled in? I've really gotten into breathing exercises lately, and it's helped my sleep. I'm like, I'm doing the hostage tape now.
Are you? How is that?
Oh yeah,
that almost scares me a little bit.
It's been a game changer.
Has it? Okay.
Honestly has that, and then that coupled with I do a very cold plunge
Yeah.
first thing every morning, whether I'm working out or not. And I
Yeah.
saw that you were talking about cold plunging. How much have you dabbled in any of that stuff?
Yeah. I love it. I don't do it
Yeah.
every morning though, because I
Yeah.
don't have one at my house,
I'm
but
obsessive compulsive. You got to understand. So yeah, if I can do one
I think,
thing, it's,
yeah,
it's good.
we all are to an extent. Yeah, I did it this
Yeah.
Sunday. We did like kind of more of that contrast therapy, so I went back and forth a little bit, and you just feel so good after, so relaxed. I think the breathing, to your question, like I think the best form of kind of stress relief is in a cold plunge and being able to breathe. And eventually, it almost feels, I don't know if you have the same experience, but it almost feels eventually it goes from cold to almost like I can't even feel the water, not in a numb way, but almost
Yes.
like you're so
Yeah.
relaxed.
Yeah.
And it's a very helpful. But no, I need to do more mindfulness stuff. I mean, I think there's definitely times where I'm thinking about way too many things, but like not in the moment.
Right.
I think that can happen with businesses and whatnot. I recently, I don't know if it's TMI, recently, started talking to a therapist. That's helped a lot. I feel like just
That's
kind of getting
okay.
things off your
Yeah.
chest and,
I'm pretty sure I
being
need
able
one.
to like have someone to talk to that's kind of like a non-biased, and also straightforward, person, I think is super helpful. And I think we all work on our bodies a lot and talk about our bodies a lot, but we don't always talk about like our minds a lot.
Yeah. Mental
Maybe in
health
golf
is
we do,
huge.
but not in the real world a whole lot. So yeah, those are some of the daily habits, if you will.
Okay. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So like circling back to your earlier career, like working for Jimmy, who were some of your other influences and like maybe a couple of things that you took from obviously Mr. McLean and then anybody else that's maybe had a huge effect on your career?
Yeah. I mean, I think there are several people. I mean, Jim, I would say, and I always say this overall, is like, in addition to this, the information from like understanding the swing or short game, or whatever, is like he just taught you how to be a good teacher. And that could mean where to stand, how to talk, what
Right.
information to ask for, how to review a video, where to film, like just all the things that like you can't really fake. Like you gotta, either learn it over a long period of time, or you gotta work for somebody. Um, and so I would say like he just made me by far just of the most well-rounded version of myself I could be from that standpoint. But what I also liked about him a lot was that he recommended we go see other people because he's like, you need to understand how all
Yeah.
these different swings work. As you know, he's more of a system guy. He's like, there's a lot of different swings that can work within these parameters. Some people might call it matchups now or whatever you
The
want to call it.
corridors of success.
Order of success. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wider backs, narrower
Yeah.
down, smaller ice cream cone. Uh, but I still draw it every day, draw the cone. And so, I think it was helpful also to see some other people that thought a little differently, but also were super helpful. I spent a lot of time with Mike Bender. He was very, very
Mm.
helpful for me. I liked him a lot. He was super straightforward or forthcoming, I should say, with his information. I would take lessons and I would watch him teach. But then I would also try to go to people that were kind of the opposite. So then I would go see like Jim Hardy and spend time with him. And, Bender's like, everything's working right to left, and Hardy's everything's, says you one plane, two plane, but he would generally, I could tell, like really like the one plane kind of pull fade is essentially what I think he really truly
Kuchar.
liked a lot. Him
Yeah.
and Chris O'Connell,
Right.
and he kind of was more on that plus and minus system, which I liked a lot because it was always early in my career a lot of path and face, and obviously we knew like
Mm-hmm.
about attack angle, but I didn't have it in my mind the way I needed to have it, and now I really see kind of it in all dimensions of like how the path can affect attacking and the face can affect, how they all kind of just work together, obviously.
Sure.
And if something's too narrow or too wide, what that's also going to change and how that will affect the face. And anyway, stuff But so that was big for me. And I would say, sounds it's not a person, but TrackMan helped me a ton. Like I was a TrackMan master
Yeah.
professional and just really seeing every shot and then seeing the numbers and then guessing what probably going to be the numbers. I think helped my eye a lot. I think it got rid of any sort of illusionary correlation of like this causes this or whatever. I think obviously just sounds basic, but like truly understanding the ball flight laws with the gear effect and kind of the combination of all of those. I think every teacher needs to be very dialed on that and understand them very well. So I think TrackMan was super helpful with that too.
Yeah. I mean, you just answered the question of like, what advice would you give to a PGM student or somebody that's a young coach that's trying to get better? I mean, shadowing other coaches, go do the work, go get, do the workshops. I mean, I'm going to a workshop Monday at AMG, right? It's like you never stop
I'll be there
learning.
too. I'll see you
Oh,
there.
will you? Oh,
Yeah,
sweet.
yeah,
There you go. So there's our hookup.
yeah.
But yeah, it's, you just never, you can't, you never know it all. And I figure I'm about 25% in. you know, the older you get and the more you do it, the more you figure out you don't know. So that's super cool, man. Well,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Any other topics that I haven't asked you? I've got a couple other random questions, but that you would want to talk about. Anything?
Um, well,
It's
I would kind of be interested to hear your thoughts, and I'm glad you just brought that up because I see quite a change in younger coaches and maybe their um, opinion of importance of doing those types of things, and you know how we can instill that still because I think it is just so important. And I know there's a lot of information online. I mean,
yeah,
it definitely isn't. You don't have to buy this guy's book and necessarily, you know, that's all you know about him. But I think that there needs to be a much better context to a lot of the information that's out there. And if you're starting out and that's the only way you're learning, I do think that that's not necessarily the best way. And you know, just I would love eventually for our industry, and they kind of do. I shouldn't say kind of do. The PGA does have like you know standardized, you know, but I
somewhat.
think there's more to it that we could do together, and I would be interested to see if there's like, because I do feel like we're kind of the only industry where there's not like somewhat of like a definitive like, and it could even be like all these different. I mean, the PGA manual kind of has it, but like maybe a modernized
Yeah,
version. It's like here's 50 coaches, them all giving you kind of like their blueprint, and then if you learn all of these, you can take what you want from it. But I think something like that would be really, really, really cool.
yeah. I mean, it's just difficult because we're dealing with human movement. We're dealing with a very difficult game. We're dealing with different personalities or different different way people learn. And I get what you're saying. I just don't think it's really possible,
Yeah,
to like have something standardized. I mean, obviously the ball flight laws was huge. I mean, let's face it, we didn't before 2008. A lot of people thought the path is where the ball started, and you got to square the face to curve it, right? It's like we've come a long way in a very short time, and I think I talk a lot about this on the show. Is a lot of people back in the day wouldn't, they're very protective of their information, right? So I'd
right.
try to go watch people teach us pre-internet or pre-social
True.
media.
True.
It was
Yeah.
hard to get to people, right? And a lot of them say, nah, I don't want to make the student uncomfortable. I get kids that come, or not just kids, but just other coaches that come watch me teach. And it's a huge honor. Like I was like, yeah, you
Yeah.
really want, if I have something to offer, I'm going to definitely open my doors and not charge them.
Yeah.
But, back to like, the information is out there. I always tell young coaches that there's no excuse to be stupid, right? There's no excuse to be stupid with all the information that's there. Okay, but
Yeah.
that's only a small part of being a great
Right.
coach.
Right.
Then you got to go spend time, and you've got to like get in the trenches and do it because we're all going
For
to make
sure.
mistakes. And I call it the difference between understanding the IQ, which is the information, and the EQ, which is like the bedside
Application.
manner,
Yeah.
reading body language, understanding how to deal with different difficult people. It's easy when you got somebody that's like-minded, and like we all have those people that are like, oh, that was a great lesson, probably because you got along with that
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
But you get the
Yeah.
one that like is so opposite of your personality that you got to learn how to pivot and like get the most out of that player by what you say, what you don't say. So there's just so much to that. I don't think the young coaches spend enough time trying to learn that part of coaching, teaching, building relationships, that type of
Yeah. I don't
side
think
of
there's
it.
any replacement for just being and putting at some point in your career or forever, just putting in a ton of hours and, you know,
Yeah.
ideally on, you know, like you said, ideally with a good premise, whether it's this guy's premise or your own premise or whatever, but some sort of, you know, background. And then simultaneously also, you know, just like you were talking about with, you know, speaking or whatever, being critical and understanding, okay, this happened. This guy didn't get as good as I thought. Why did he not get as good? Let me ask
Yeah.
this teacher what he would do with this guy's swing. Oh, he would have tackled it this way. He would have approached it this first and then done that. I think that that's just like the best way to really continue to grow as a coach and
100%. You got to
hopefully
have
more
people
people have
around
to.
you that you trust. I call it like my board of directors, like my personal development board of directors that I have, on speed dial to where, yeah, if I get stuck or I got a question or I want to vent or I want to talk to somebody, I can reach out and I know they've got my best interest at heart. But also, you got to have people
Yeah,
that challenge you, right? It's like you can't have people that just tell you that you're the greatest. You got to have people that go, hey, no, that was not a good call. Like you should have done this. Try
yeah,
this. That's how you get better. It's not everybody telling you that you're awesome, and you're
Yeah.
doing well. Like that's all our mentors. We've all had those moments with with Jim and Dana and people that I've worked for. It's like, hey, you need to get better at this. Go figure it
Yeah.
out. And then you have a decision to make. You can just get pissed or and say, oh, okay, that they're wrong, I'm not going to do it. Or you can dig in and go, all right, I need to look at it from another point of view. That's
Right.
where the debate, online debates that
Yeah.
we used to be involved with. I just had Chur Talk on the
I
pod
did
this
it.
week promoting Open Forum, and we were talking
Yeah.
about the old days of
Yeah.
everybody arguing about whatever the Alpha Wars or what have
Yeah.
you. And we'll see
Yeah.
them. We'll see the guys Monday.
The green shirt guy. Yeah. I mean, all
Yeah,
that.
the green chair guy. Yeah, so
Yeah.
all that stuff, but again, it's like if you're paying attention, you're reflecting, and you're not settling for what you think is good, then you're gonna grow, and you're gonna have some personal growth in your career and your life. So
Yeah.
that's cool
Without a
to
doubt.
that you got that same mindset.
Yeah. Without a doubt. I mean, in a lot of ways too, it's like, if someone else, you could probably learn the most from someone else who's also successful, but believes almost the opposite of what you do, right? Because obviously
Hundred
they know a
percent.
lot of good stuff. So
Yep.
it's
Yep.
easy to want to shy
Exactly.
away from that or tell them why they're wrong. But I think that's, as you just mentioned, probably the best way to personal growth.
Yeah, the young guys, I mean, I think there's two ways to think about it. It's one, what we kind of how we've come up, which is go, Tony Robbins used to call it modeling, right? So go find somebody that's success. That's what I did with Jim. I did that with Butch Harmon. I did, I watched them on the Golf Channel, and I used to mimic them and talk like them, and that's fine, right?
Yeah.
Then you have to, at some point, have to have your own sort of point of view, but you don't get that point of view until you start actually doing the work, right? It's
Right.
like giving a lot of lessons and screwing up and, hey, that didn't work. Why didn't it work? Let's
Yeah.
reflect. Let's journal. Let's do, it's just a whole process that doesn't happen overnight. And the kids nowadays, I'm like 75 and like preaching, but the kids nowadays want it so fast because they're, they can like the director of instruction jobs right out of college didn't exist when I was coming out of college. And now I've put two or three kids that have worked for me, like right out of college, and put them right in there, and they're going to grow so much faster. But they
Yeah.
still have to have that patience and respect for, what we've gone through
Yeah.
back in the
For sure.
day.
For sure. Yeah.
So yeah,
It's definitely a blend, a happy medium of both, right? And,
exactly.
but I do
Yeah.
think we now know a much faster. Just same thing with swing changes or whatever. Like we just
Yeah.
there's certain ways that if you can do it right, you can improve more quickly. So
Yeah, the solution. Yeah, it's like we don't guess much, right? It's like
Yeah.
if you got the technology, you have the information, you got the tools, and
Yeah.
that's what my members always say is, man, you get me going pretty quick, and I'm like, yeah, I don't do a whole lot of guessing. Like I've seen it, I've
Yeah.
seen pretty much everything, so I know exactly. You see that this is what they need. I'm going to try this. I got 5 things to fix this. Just
Yeah.
like you do in your tips. So, dude, kudos to you, man. Like you're doing an amazing job with a very big platform. I mean, I just can't even imagine, having to come up with all those different ideas. And like you said, you want to be as accurate as you can because not just because of peer pressure, but just because you care about the
Yeah.
people listening and watching the show, right? I mean, you got a
Yeah.
huge responsibility there for golf in our industry.
Yeah, I think you said it. Appreciate that first off, and secondly, yeah, I think you said it. Dead on the head. Is like I just have a lot of admiration, appreciation for and respect for just all the people in the industry for so long, and I just it's kind of we were all in a sense, golf instruction nerds. Like we love
Yeah.
it. We ate it up. We had our models or whatever. We were super interested in stuff that maybe the average golfer wouldn't be interested in, and I just want to make sure that if I am in a platform like that, that I'm speaking the right gospel, obviously, and showing the respects to people that came before me, and etc. And so yeah, it's always a balance of like information versus entertainment. Is this something that is new but it's a stretch, or is this the same? Martin Hall used to talk to me all the time, and he's like, the producer's always like, give me your best, new drill, or hey, I think we've done this drill before. He's like, of course I've done this drill before. I've been on the show for 11 years. Like, you think I've never done this drill before?
Yeah.
So
He's incredible.
yeah. He's been great. He's been very helpful. He's very nice. He called me one time. He was in England, and he said it was terrible weather or whatever. So he's like, I'm gonna try to watch Devan's stuff and see if it's actually any good or whatever. And he called me. And it was super complimentary. It was really really
That's
sweet.
so
Really
awesome.
nice for him to say, especially coming from such a legend like him. And he's given me some tips along the way as far as like whether it's on the show or just doing large clinics. I've done a couple of clinics after he kind of retired in a sense that I took over. So it's been great. So yeah, I
there
love
you go.
it's good, you know.
That's
Yeah.
that's the answer to the original question. It's like who have you like kind of reached out with or talked to, and and there's the master. I mean, he's done
Yeah.
more shows on the Golf Channel than anybody. I had a similar situation with him because years ago, this is like when I first started teaching full time, and my mentor would bring me to the top 100 party that they used to have, right? So I got to be around all these guys and idolized them. And I had watched like VHS tapes of like Martin giving lessons and stuff. So I got my chance to get in front of him for the first time, and I was just telling him like how much I appreciate, what he does, and like how much I looked up to him. And he kind of looked at me and he goes, "Now it's your turn." And
That's
he's
awesome.
like, now it's your turn to pass it on. So I already took that to heart. So then fast forward several years later, I think I had done the podcast for maybe 2 or 3 years. It was starting to gain some traction. I run into him at the National Teaching Summit, and he comes up to me and he gives me a big hug and he goes, "Man, I'm so proud of you. I'm
That's
just like,
awesome.
you're doing great." And he's like, "If you ever need a guest on the show," and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Like that was like, so that was, it's like cool when you kind of get that validation from somebody that you respect so much. So
That's
I
so
get,
cool. Yeah. That's
yeah.
so cool. Yeah.
All right, my man. Well, I'm not going to keep you any longer. You've been so generous with your time. I really appreciate it. We'll let you drop all your handles here in a second, but you got to answer one more question. Everybody's got
Sure.
to get it. So if you had to get a message to billions of people, everybody in the world, and put that message on a billboard, what would your billboard say and why?
God, big question. Um, Maybe just don't stop.
There you go.
Simple as that. Just keep pushing through, keep going. And I think for all of us, I mean, I think whether it's been in golf or in life or whatever, when things are going the wrong way, you think it's going to feel like that forever, and it never does. Generally, I don't want to speak for everyone else. At least for me, it never has. But it could have if I didn't keep going. So I think that there's a lot to say for just whether it's an entrepreneurship or relationships or personal growth or whatever it might be. Just kind of keep pushing through, and I think that that will solve a lot of the problems.
I love it, man. That's perfectly said. I appreciate
Awesome.
your time, my
Yeah.
man. Drop all your handles. How can people find you? Time of the show, what all the stuff you're going on, whether you
Yeah,
want to
sure.
promote your studio.
Yeah, so Golf Fix season 15, because Michael did the first 9. It's my 6, but it's always confusing. So
It's
season
awesome.
15 actually just dropped this week, this Monday on Golf Pass. It'll be airing throughout the year on Golf Channel. I don't have the dates on those yet. Instagram handle, just my name, Devan_Bonebrake. A lot of snippets of Golf Pass, stuff that's going on in Studio Golf. And then check out our website, studiogolfclub.com. A lot of new things coming in there, a lot of different cities we're going to come to. So hopefully we can come to a city near you guys. And thanks for having me on, and thanks for listening.
Absolutely. Awesome, my man. I will see you next week. Look forward to meeting you in person.
Yeah, absolutely. See you Monday.
Yes, sir.
See ya. Bye.